Well, I don't know if you ask an aquascaper, but if you ask a fish keeper, my guess is they're gonna say hornwort is one of their favorite plants. Now, why would they say that? Well, welcome back to the Small Scape. I'm Joanna, and I am very excited because I'm doing another plant species spotlight on one of my favorite plants, especially down here in the fish room. It is hornwort. Now, it is not what I would call a glamorous plant, one that aquascapers just flood to. However, it has so many good things going for it that I thought you should know about all the great things. I will cover the disadvantages and all that too, but let's get started with the parameters. Now for pH, it likes from a 6 to an 8.2. We run here in about an 8, and then water temperature has a wide range from 60 degrees all the way to 80 degrees, and we are at the top end here in the fish room, usually about 78 to 80 degrees. And then for water hardness, it likes from 5 to 15 degrees, and we are kind of right in the middle. We run at about 10 degrees. With all that out of the way, let's start looking at all of the great advantages to this great plant. Now, the number one reason that I love this plant is because it really works for you. It does a job. It keeps your tank clean. It keeps the nitrate levels down, and it's really known as kind of a water cleaner. People actually use it to help filter their tank. And that is another good reason is it is a fast grower. So as it is growing really fast, it's sucking up all those nutrients and keeping everything looking good. And it's opposite from some of my other favorite plants. Like if you've been watching the channel for any time, you know that I love Anubias. Anubias is my favorite plant, but I've done lots of videos on them, like Anubias versus Crypts. Those are great plants for beginners, but they grow very, very slow. Not this plant. No, hornwort grows really, really fast. So if you're looking to populate your tank, or in our case, many, many tanks, like I'll give you an example. This about this size, many years ago, this is what we had, and now we have hornwort in pretty much any tank, which is closing in on 80 aquariums. So big money saver there. The other good reason that I really like hornwort is it provides a lot of top cover. So whether you are trying to protect little baby fry, or you want to cover, like kind of provide some cover for some of your lower light plants like Anubias, this is a great option. It will float. That's how we use it. How most fish keepers will use their hornwort is to just float it on the top of the tank. And it is such a great cover. Just like Bacopa. That's another one of my favorite plants I did a video on, because that's exactly how we use Bacopa. We just let it float on the top. It just can't get any easier than that. The other thing that makes it super, super easy is propagating it. Even Anubias I thought was very easy to propagate. When I did the video and I showed you just snip along the rhizome, this is even easier, because to propagate it, you just throw it in your tank and it will grow, it will get longer. Or if you want to propagate it and, you know, divide it in different tanks like we do, you just pull it apart, chuck it into different tanks, and there you go, you've propagated your plant. Now, I don't know if everybody agrees, but a nice, healthy, happy hornwort actually has a super fun texture. It's also known as coontail because it looks like a little raccoon tail. Especially when it's really happy and healthy, this is a really fun plant. I like to see it floating on top of a tank, personally. Now, there are some fish, there are actually a number of fish that will eat this. There are fish that like to eat plants, and like our electric blue caras like to eat it, our ambunas, and our severums, but our severums will literally eat everything. They're not picky at all. But some fish, the little texture bothers them, so some fish do like to eat it. Now, let's cover some of the disadvantages with any plant. There are some. First of all, you can't plant it. So if you like to plant your plants and you like them to stay in your aquascape in a certain place, and you want them to behave and it to look all pretty, hornwort's really not your first choice, because once you plant it, it doesn't actually have roots that will grow into the substrate. It's kind of its own thing. It likes to just float, and if you do plant it, the planted portion will rot away and die, and then you're going to have those little needles, and that is a disadvantage in and of itself that will lead me to my second one. It not only grows fast, but it also dies fast. When it does die, it will drop all of these little tiny needles on the bottom of your tank, which of course you get to clean up, and the fish probably will not eat it because they are kind of prickly. Keep in mind, if you are keeping hornwort in your tank, it will be using up all your nutrients. So if you do have other plants in there, if you have anubias, you have crypts, you have all these great other little plants, it will take all the nutrients and quite possibly will rob them from your other slow growers. And you may notice, hey, why are my other plants dying but my hornwort's just fine? Or your hornwort does just great for quite some time and then it begins to die. Well, it needs a little boost. It's used up all its nutrients. You need to squirt some liquid fertilizer in there and just keep the nutrient levels up because it's using them all up. Another thing to keep in mind is it does not like high flow. So if you have any wave makers, if you have any tanks with a lot of flow, hornwort's not going to be a happy camper. Another disadvantage is if you don't like to maintain your tank a lot and kind of go in there and check it out and do some trimming and all, this might not be a plant for you because it does grow fast and it can get out of control fast. But I have no problem in it. I think it's kind of almost relaxing to just go and trim your hornwort and just keep it from overrunning your tank. I'm sure you've seen a lot of tanks with hornwort wrapped all around. It'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go all through, and then you have this big mass of hornwort. So it's just something to keep on the to-do list if you're going to keep hornwort, to just trim it every so often so it doesn't overrun your tank. Now, if it does start overrunning your tank, the other problem will be is that it can trap things, which it has in some of our tanks. It will trap green hair algae, a fun thing right there. It'll trap food. It'll trap maybe if some of your little snails have died or if you have a pea puffer like I do, and yeah, it'll trap lots of different things. So it's just something to keep in mind that it likes to eat nutrients and it also likes to trap stuff. I'm hoping that this video helped you out so that not only can you appreciate hornwort, but also keep in mind some of the disadvantages. But I just love it. I really think it's the best workhorse for your tanks to keep them nice and clean, and it's just a fun plant to look at. I will see you in the next video.